Arkansas going to Oxford, Mississippi to play Ole Miss. Ole Miss favored by 11.5. This is a night game, 7:30 Eastern on the SEC Network. Ole Miss, man, huge win over LSU. Huge win. I mean, signature win for Lane Kiffin. Re-energized that whole operation in Oxford. You're thinking about them maybe being a contender to get to Atlanta. Again, not a perfect path. Still have that loss from Alabama, but like, hey, we'll see what happens here. Keep an eye on Kiffin and company. They got some real juice, some real mojo, and I think they're being taken more seriously than maybe they have been in the last couple of seasons, is my gauge on it. But Arkansas, they're backed into a corner. Okay, they played A&M last week with Max Johnson, and they had their issues up front, did Arkansas. We'll talk about that here in a second. Feels like the wheels on the wagon have not fallen off. They feel a little bit wobbly. It's probably that situation where if you're driving a car, that check tire pressure light comes on, where you're like, oh, hey, we might need to pull over here in a second. If you beat Ole Miss at Ole Miss, think about how much that would just stabilize things for Arkansas. Stabilize things with the conversations around Sam Pittman and remind you, hey, okay, Pitt Boss has done some good things here. Hey, okay, we've lost a couple of games we didn't want to lose in the fashion we didn't want to lose them, but this is still a good football team. That would be the conversation you would like to have after this game. Do you get to have it? Well, it depends on if you beat Ole Miss or not. Really quickly, for all of y'all that are watching this after the fact as a one-off clipped video, we appreciate y'all being tuned in. Make sure you catch the live show, okay? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern. We want y'all dialed in. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a thing that we got going on this very platform that is the Hard Count. Also, follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at JD Piquel to stay up with everything we got going here. We appreciate y'all in advance for that. Big matchup in this game now. Big matchup. Pete Golding. Yes, that Pete Golding. The Pete Golding that was the defensive coordinator at Alabama last year. He likes to apply pressure. All right? We all have our vices, and Pete Golding's is pressure. And this Arkansas offensive line protecting KJ Jefferson, and kind of baked into that, KJ Jefferson's mobility. That's a huge matchup in this football game because Ole Miss, they're going to spy, likely with their linebacker, Suntarine Perkins. You would expect to probably have at least a role in spying KJ Jefferson as he did with Jalen Milroe and Jaden Daniels. And the aggression of Ole Miss as a whole, are they able to get home? Because they had 3 sacks against LSU, 4 tackles for a loss, and Arkansas gave up 7 sacks to Texas A&M. Y'all, that's not a typo. We're not reading that stat incorrectly. 7 sacks against Texas A&M. And I don't even think A&M was as aggressive as Ole Miss is going to be. Now, I'll say this too. KJ Jefferson is much stronger than a Jaden Daniels. No disrespect to Jaden Daniels. But he's also not quite as fast and quite as agile or slippery as a Jaden Daniels, just different skill sets, different kinds of mobile, if you will. Is KJ Jefferson able to sort of extend plays and maneuver? Is his offensive line able to withstand this pressure from Ole Miss? Because if Ole Miss gets home, then they can do what Texas A&M did to Arkansas, and that is force difficult third downs. Arkansas was 5 of 15 on third down. It's hard to win when you're 5 of 15 on third down in any football game. And you'd have to imagine a lot of those third downs were third and long. So if they can handle it, and I say if they can handle it in the sense that if Arkansas can withstand some of that pressure and either one, just overall as an offensive line, be up to the task and be able to stop that pressure, or 2, diagnose it quickly, get the ball out of their hands quick. Keep an eye on Andrew Armstrong, big body wide receiver for Arkansas. I would expect Ole Miss to apply pressure, and when you apply pressure, we talk about this a lot on this show, you leave yourself just a little bit exposed. There's more potential for some big plays to happen downfield because you have less resources in the back end, and Andrew Armstrong is a one-on-one nightmare. It's tough coming away from that game against LSU for Ole Miss if they're just not great one-on-one. Is Ole Miss, or if LSU's really good one-on-one. Either way, if I'm Arkansas, I would test that. I would test that early. But a big part of that is, can you get the play started? And can you win early if you're Andrew Armstrong? Can you get off that press coverage? Can you find the soft spot in the zone? Can you get open quickly? Because I don't think he'll have a ton of time back there, will KJ Jefferson, when it comes to reading the defense. So got to win early, got to diagnose early. And if you can, big play downfield. If not, a lot of third and long for Arkansas, which is exactly where Ole Miss would like to have them at. The back 7 of Arkansas. in their own way, going to be a very, very big factor in this game because of their responsibility with sorting out, it's a key word here, sorting out the Ole Miss pass game. Ole Miss, man, Lane Kiffin is a wizard offensively. They do a really good job schematically messing with the secondary of any college football team, and I think Arkansas will have their work cut out for them. When I say messing with them, there's a couple of things factored in. One is pre-snap. They do a lot of pre-snap movement. They do a lot of motions. They give you a lot of eye candy, which force you as a defense to kind of hit the reset button quickly. We talk about it a lot. It's like whenever there's a fast break at the YMCA and you're playing pickup basketball, it doesn't matter who you had before in that set. It doesn't matter who you had when it was 5-on-5 at the other end of the floor. When it's a fast break, it's like, hey, get a man. We got to get a line. We got to find out who we're trying to guard here. That's kind of how it is when Ole Miss is able to be effective pre-snap. The other part of that, they do a really good job creating space for their playmakers. Jordan Watkins, Dayton Wade, like they got a lot of guys that when they get the ball in their hands in space, they're dangerous, and they create space with crossing patterns and just different complex things within their offense that force the same thing for the defensive backs to communicate really well and have a good gauge for what's going on. Like they force the secondary to switch in man a lot. They force you to carry a certain receiver to another zone. And when you do so much offensively and put so much on a secondary, I mean, it's like having to think a lot while you're trying to find the right place when you're driving. Like if I'm having a conversation with the person next to me and I'm trying to change the music, I'm probably going to miss a turn. That's kind of the situation that Ole Miss presents for a secondary. You got to pass off a coverage. You got to make sure that you're still reading your correct keys. And oh, by the way, Dayton Wade's right behind you and he's open with 10 yards of real estate, and that's a touchdown for Ole Miss. That's the kind of world they get you to live in, does Lane Kiffin in that offense. And Jackson Dart has been executing to a T, man. His improvement cannot be overstated. We talked about it a lot last season. Hey, it's his first time in the RPO system. He's never played in this kind of offense before. Doesn't look super sharp, but give him some time. Like, we're not saying any of that anymore. There were two individuals brought to Ole Miss to take his job. Jackson Dart just said, nope, my job. Leveled up, has been leveling up all offseason, and I would expect him to continue that in this kind of game should Ole Miss end up winning the football game. Now, a big part of this as well is Quinshon Judkins able to demand the attention of Arkansas's defense as well. Because if he can, well, then the RPO game is there because those linebackers have to trigger a little bit quickly. The play action game is there because those safeties have to fill in run support. And at that point, like, it's just a buffet for the Ole Miss offense. You'd like to avoid that if you're Arkansas. And I think the task for them isn't so much, can we be phenomenal on the back end? Can we just be perfect defensively and have all our checks correct and be able to pass off every single zone and play man coverage perfectly? Like, I don't think that's realistic. I don't think that's a situation that we will talk about consistently for Arkansas. I think the task for them is, can you be good enough on the back end and then get to Jackson Dart? Because Arkansas has a 10.7% sack rate. That is good for number 8 in the country. You just want to speed the shot clock up. You want to force them into making poor decisions. I think that's the name of the game for Arkansas. I don't think it's be perfect on the back end. I think it's be good enough on the back end and then force Jackson Dart to doing things he doesn't want to do throwing the football. It's a big part of this. Now, at the end of the day, man, Ole Miss's physicality defensively against Arkansas's run game, like that might be the defining factor in this football game. Because Arkansas running the ball 57% of the time. That is wide open. We're letting everybody know there is no secret. We are going to pound the rock. Okay? Period. The end. Now, when it comes to Ole Miss being able to stop the run, that's going to be crucial because if they can't, Arkansas is able to then dictate the tempo of this game. It would not surprise me in the slightest if Arkansas and Sam Pittman say, well, you know what? Ole Miss scores a lot of points and we're not really built to go and score 50. Let's just kind of take the air out of this game. They can't stop the run. We'll take our 3 yards, our 4 yards, our 6 yards, and we'll just go on a 10-play drive, take like 6 minutes off the clock, and we'll limit their number of possessions. If Ole Miss can't stop the run, that's what will happen in this football game, in my opinion. Now, if Ole Miss is able to be disruptive enough, like we talked about, then you can force Arkansas out of their strength, which is running the football, and you're able to play your style of game, which is, hey, we're going to 40 points. Can y'all catch us? Best of luck. So I think that's kind of the world that Ole Miss wants to live in. So in this football game, I think we see the Jackson Dart that we've seen at this point in the year continue. The good vibes tour for Jackson Dart, I think, keeps on rolling along. I worry about a letdown for this offense. I really do, because of the emotional drain that last week was on them, being able to find a way to win the game in the fourth quarter. They stormed the field. I worry about them continuing at the level they played at last week. I worry a little bit, too, about the Arkansas run game and how much this Ole Miss defense has had issues this year. But even so, I think the Ole Miss passing attack behind Jackson Dart is at a new level, and I think there's maybe some confidence, too, baked into what they did last week that they're playing with now. I think Ole Miss wins this football game. I don't think Arkansas can keep pace once this thing gets rolling. Once you lose your grasp on this game, if you're Arkansas, it's going to be tough to climb back in. I think Ole Miss wins this game. I think they cover as well. Final score, Ole Miss 45, Arkansas 24. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.